Hi, everyone. Well, welcome. And you may be able to tell from my voice that I don't have much today. I was fine when I woke up this morning and when I was telling you about this event. So I've been made myself a bit of a brew, which has got some ginger, a bit of lemon myrtle, some honey, and some lime from my garden. And I'm hoping that will help soothe it so I can talk for this little next while. But I won't grate at you for too long. I'll try and keep this short and sweet. And I'd love to I've got a chat going on the side. So if you do log in and see this, come and say good day and tell me where you're calling in from and your name. And I'd love to meet you face to face, because some of you I have met before, which is absolutely wonderful. But some of you I've never met, and I actually am just so grateful to all of you for supporting the work that we're doing here. So the purpose of tonight really is to say thank you. Really, thank you so much for helping, and to let you know a bit about what we've been doing, and also to ask for a bit of your input in terms of giving me some feedback and giving me some ideas about other things that you'd like me to go on with. So first of all, I just thought I'd actually give you a bit of an update on where we're at. So the Our Permaculture Life YouTube channel has 23,000 subscribers, which is fantastic. There's people from all around the world, and we're getting fantastic feedback from people everywhere and saying how helpful it is. So I'm just so delighted by that this idea of actually developing and delivering freely accessible materials that don't have all the ads on them, that can be accessed by people wherever they are in the world, that can be used as a sort of instruction to help people make a difference in their home, in their house, in their garden, in their community. And so I'm thank you for the support. So far, with that many subscribers as well, I think the last count is about 985,000 views of these videos. That's phenomenal. One of them in particular, the No Dig Garden, has been seen by, I think, almost 320,000 people. So there must be lots of no dig gardens happening now, which is just absolutely fantastic. Now, the other thing that I wanted to let you know too is that the blog, the Our Permaculture Life blog, has continued to go from strength to strength. I've actually moved platforms from the Blogger platform that I was on before, and we're now on WordPress. And so I'm learning the ropes with WordPress. I'd become quite familiar with Blogger, so I kind of went down a bit to try and work out what I was doing. Everything's shifting across to that, and you'll start to see more materials coming back into that. But having said that, those blogs too have also been read by 2 million people. That's phenomenal. It's just amazing, the reach that, I never realized a couple of years ago the power that these forums would have in terms of actually rippling out permaculture education. So, permaculture teaching is my absolute passion, and I have mostly been doing permaculture teaching face to face. And I resisted, I think, going digital for a long time, because I really believe in the power of that face to face education. But I'm also seeing the impact that you can have with this. And so, I just think I'm going to keep on working with that, and since the developing that now too, I've started working on creating some online courses. So I now have the Incredible Edible Garden, which is a really comprehensive introduction to permaculture, and combined with that is our Permaculture Life membership community. So it's a year-long membership where people can come and join in and be mentored through the material. They have access to ask questions all the time. Each week I upload new materials, from book reviews to today there was a book review that went up. There's videos and plant resources. I invite people to send in their designs so that I can, give feedback on that. So really it's kind of, I know from the past, having done workshops and talks and courses, people say, that's great, but it would be really nice to have someone who could kind of hold my hand for a bit longer. And so that's the purpose of that program. So that's online at the Good Life School. And I've just launched last week a new online program, which is a combination. It's the first ever combination that I can find anywhere in the world, which is a combination of the Permaculture Design Certificate course and a Permaculture Teacher Certificate. So at the end of this 10-month program, people will be coming out with being permaculture teachers and actually being able to create a really sound and sustainable livelihood out of that course, which I'm really excited about. So we've got over 80 people who've signed up already, and it's not even started yet. It's starting on June 25th. So that is just phenomenal as well. So I'm really excited by all of this. And one of the things I want to tell you about too that I'm doing with the permaculture course is for every person that signs up, I'm donating a course to someone who can't afford it in another part of the world, maybe a displaced person, a refugee, someone from Indigenous Australia, someone who really could benefit from doing the course but would have no other means of actually accessing this. So already we're starting to support some people in Africa. And again, like I said, the course hasn't even started. So what I've done is there was a permaculture course happening in Uganda and a permaculture convergence, which is happening right now as we speak. And so I sponsored some people from Kenya to go into Uganda to be able to take that training because the internet access over there is not so great. So accessing online courses is not great. So instead, I'm trying to hook them up with materials that with people that are local, which is even better. Another thing that I'm really supporting at the moment too is the development of I'm not creating it. My good friends Ego and Lachlan are creating the Tropical Permaculture Guidebook, which is a magnificent 3-volume chunky manual of how to do permaculture in warm climates. And so you can access this material from anywhere, and you can download it for free and use it for personal use or for educational use. As long as you don't try and sell it and make money out of it, they're very happy for you to take it and to spread it as far and wide as they can. So they have pretty much all the chapters ready. There's a few that they still haven't finished, but whatever's ready is up and available online. So if you search for Tropical Permaculture Guidebook, you'll find that, and you can download as much as you want, copy it, share it, spread it around. So this is something that I'm actually copying and sending to Africa because they don't have the bandwidth to download all that material in this community that I'm currently supporting. So I'm going to send the hard copy to them because they can then take that and then photocopy that. And so paper copies are still really important, which is one of the things that I think is really important about what Lockie and Ego are doing at the moment is they're trying to do a crowdfunding to generate some funds to get print copies of this, which they can distribute out freely to people around the world in tropical areas, which are mostly people who would not be able to afford this material otherwise. Now, I'll put up a link later on. I'll send this through to you, how you can actually access that crowdfunding campaign, because I really wholeheartedly support you to encourage you to support them, and I'm supporting them as well because I just think it's just the most brilliant materials there in permaculture. They have the text as well, but they've tested it over and over to make sure that farmers, people in villages everywhere can pick up this manual, have a look through it, and actually make a positive difference in their village and in their community. So now it's turning into an international manual, which is in English, and then through the crowdfunding, they're also wanting to get it translated to many other languages. So things like this I get really excited about, and I'm about to put together another series of films. The recent series that I put out was on YouTube was quite often my masterclass series, which have gone up online, and they've been received really well. The thing that I'm doing now is editing a lot of the films that I took when I was at the Australasian Permaculture Convergence in Canberra in April. So I've already released the one with David Holmgren. So I interviewed him about his book, Retrosuburbia. Now, if you haven't got a hold of that book, I totally encourage you to get hold of that too, because that's extraordinary. And again, excuse me. Oh, gosh, it's really hard to speak without a voice. So the idea of this is that Retrosuburbia is taking permaculture to the suburbs. What can happen when a neighborhood or a household transforms the way they think and the way they live right in the heart of the cities, rather than moving out, actually finding what we can do there? And it's a most powerful book. And in it too, amazing illustrations. And again, similarly like the Tropical Permaculture Guidebook, I think the illustrations hold this book together. It's extraordinary. A young woman, Brenna, who just has a gift for she's a permaculture illustrator, gifted artist, and she's done amazing work in that. It's a beautiful piece of work. So some people I know who are starting to actually buy a bulk lot of books. So you can buy 6 books and actually get a discounted rate on them, and work with your neighbours. So you can have your neighbours or your friends get together and buy a bulk load of books, and then have a Retrosuburbia book club and start to work through it chapter by chapter and find a way to actually roll it out in your neighborhood, which I think is fantastic. So I've been talking with David Holmgren, the author of the book and also the co-originator of permaculture, about how we can, because the book was very much directed towards temperate, Melbourne-based, Victorian-based environment. And so trying to find more examples up here in the subtropical areas and then also further afield. So I'm going to be taking my camera out and trying to work out how I can help to roll out. So I put out a film with David Holmgren with Pascoe, who is an award-winning Indigenous author and also a director of Aboriginal cultural studies. And he wrote the book Dark Emu, which I highly recommend you find yourself a copy of as well. Changing the way that we understand Aboriginal history in this country, because through his extensive research over the years, he's uncovered some really quite amazing things. Gathering half an hour, and I highly recommend you listen to it. But I really delight up front, and my hand was shaking. So that was Bruce Pascoe. The one that I'm editing at the moment is an amazing storyteller, a Somali refugee, a woman who arrived in Melbourne about 2 decades ago now, and she's been writing and telling stories about her life as a refugee and how she's been able to, well, her struggles as a refugee and what's happened in her country, but also how she's been able to find her feet here in Australia and the journey that she's taken. And one of the things that she did in order to actually create a place and connect in a community was to open up her backyard as a permaculture community garden, invite people from all different cultures, other refugees, but also local people to come and join in and meet and talk and share stories, to share recipes, to eat together, to laugh together, to play together, to have their kids meet and play together. And so her story is remarkable. So her book is called A Resilient Life. And I have an interview with her that's it's on the editing desk at the moment, and I'm hoping that will come out in the next couple of days. Now, the next person that is going to be coming out on the film is Ego, who's been central in creating the Tropical Permaculture Guide, but who's also central in transforming Timor-Leste, East Timor, into a permaculture country, taking it to schools and school camps and transforming, agricultural policy. An amazing, amazing work that they were doing over there. So I have an interview with him that's about to be edited as well. So that's also on the editing desk. So I have a bit of a stream of those coming up of the Australian Permaculture Conference. Sorry, excuse me a minute. Honey and ginger feels so good. So that's the next thread. Now, after that, I'm really interested to get your input into what you would like me to do some films about. If there's something that you'd like me to do back in the garden, or some people you'd like me to go and interview, or a theme you'd like me to cover, it could range from anything from, permaculture homeschooling to house building to compost toilet systems or anything. I'm really open to that. So please let me know, firstly, what you'd like blogs written about, films made about, and also masterclasses. The next masterclass is coming up on June 18th, and that will all be about I'm just thinking what the title is. It's seven ways to make a living out of permaculture, which I think is a really important topic, because a lot of people talk to me about how, oh yeah, I'd like to do permaculture, but maybe when I retire, or I'm not quite sure. It could be my hobby, but not actually what I can do as my main way of life. And I'm really quite passionate and committed to this idea that if we want to try and make a change, then how can we shift not only the way that we do things in our garden or in our home, but actually in other parts, in how we manage our money, how we work, how we educate our children, and think about those and explore those and tease those out a bit. So the topic that I'm going to tease out a bit on the next masterclass will be about work and how to generate income from that. So that's going to be an interesting one, and I really look forward to hopefully having a lot of discussion around sidelines on the Patreon page. Is about trying to get a podcast happening. So I'm about a quarter way. So we have 50 Patreon, and I need to about quadruple the amount that I have at the moment, and then I can probably get a podcast happening. But I'm really, really keen to do that. I did also interview a few people just on audio, and I also have a whole lot of materials already to put up on the podcast. So Dan Palmer from who started up the Permablitz in Melbourne, and is also behind making permaculture stronger. And I'm also looking to do some really interesting interviews with people from around the world. So getting them to talk on Skype and recording those and then uploading those onto the podcast too. So if there's anyone that you'd like me to interview and talk to about permaculture, let me know, and I'll see if I can get them on the line, and we can have a chat. So blogs, films, masterclass, and podcast topics. Please let me know. Just send me a little message, either through the Patreon messaging system or on my email. Just simply moraggamble@gmail.com is a really easy one to get me on. And one of the things that I've been working on at home at the moment with my family is doing a food meters challenge. You've probably heard about the food mile challenge, and how you can actually try and diminish the amount of food miles embodied in your daily meals. Well, we've been really looking at how we could just feed ourselves as much from within the garden or within our own village here. And some of the things I've been really excited about, we've been making. So we've been milking. So we have a collective cow set up here, so that we have a few dairy cows, and once a fortnight it's our turn to milk. And we also collaborate with someone, so we get weekly milk. And then we process them, that we make our own yogurt. And Evan did a sort of kind of accident the other day, and he said it's something to do with freezing. He accidentally froze the milk, and then when he made the yogurt out of it the next time, it made the most creamiest and most beautiful yogurt you've ever tasted. So we've got this culture now that he's trying to cultivate, to keep it going. So I'm going to get him to try and experiment with that a bit more, because we've never made such beautiful yogurts. Absolutely incredible. And so with that, we've just had a whole bunch of bananas. It actually fell off a bit early. The whole tree fell over in the wet. And so we chopped off the banana bunch, and we've just let it ripen. So we have all these beautiful ripe bananas. So we've been having banana lassies with just the yogurt and the banana. Absolutely delicious. It's so simple. And so you get the milk and some limes or some lemons. That's it. That's all you need. And you can make this extraordinary cheese. Have you ever had paneer in like an Indian meal? So really all you do is you boil up the milk, not to boiling, and then just before it starts to boil, you squeeze in some lemons into it. And I put in the blog, I've got the recipe there, so you can follow the ratio. And then you see it separate. And so you get the whey and the curds. And then I line a sieve, a colander, with some organic cheesecloth you can just buy from the local fabric store, and I pour it through, and I wrap it up and twist it around and squeeze it a bit, and then I just pop it back down in the colander with a plate resting on it, maybe a jar of something, and I let it sit for about an hour, just pressing like that. And then you can actually slice this cheese. It's a really nice, firm, soft cheese, and you can use it for cooking. It has a texture a bit like tofu, I suppose. It's sliceable and cookable, but you can also crumble it up and make dips and things. And so just absolutely delicious. And we've been using that in all sorts of eggy bakes. So we go and get the eggs from the chickens, and we've got our cheese and the vegetables and greens. And I brought a couple here to show you today. This one here is one of my favorites at the moment. This is an Okinawan spinach, and you can see this beautiful coloring. So it's got purple on one side and green on the other side, and it grows as a sort of a low-growing mound, and it keeps sending the shoots out. So to stop it sort of taking over, I just keep harvesting the ends. This ends up in the dinner pot, and you just take off the leaves. Now, if you wanted to propagate this, it's really easy. All you do is you just take off the bottom leaves like this. There we go. And you stick that in the ground, and you have another one. So that's Okinawan spinach. And look, it's just so lush and lovely. It's soft and really great for, so you can use it in the salad, or you can also use it in the cooking greens. Another one that I've been making, I'm about to do a blog post on this. I put something out on the Instagram account recently about how to make Brazilian spinach. That's what this one is. Brazilian spinach chips. You've heard of kale chips. Well, this is very similar to that. So all I do is I go out and I get a couple of little chunks. I just snap them off. They snap off really easily. And it too grows as a mound of sort of about, half a metre wide, about 30 centimetres high. And just because I keep tip pruning it, it just keeps bushing out as a nice little clump. And it's really good on the edges of your garden, and it doesn't matter being on quite dry or rocky or even moist. It's very, very adaptable. That's if you're living in a sort of, I guess, a warmer, I've seen it actually in all up and down the east coast of Australia, but it's particularly a warmer climate type of plant. So it'd be a good summer one in the cooler parts of Australia. Anyway, so you can harvest off the leaves like this and toss them as you would a silver beet. When they're nice and young, you can put them as a salad, but typically I just use them as I would a silver beet, and put them in any type of curries or soups or eggy bakes or quiches or whatever it is that I'm making at the time. Well, what I did the other day is I just grabbed whole chunks like this, and I put them on top of the sandwich press. So, those lift lid things, and I just shut it down on top of it, maybe 30 seconds or something, and lifted the lid, and then beautiful chips. So I just sat there and I munched away on these, and you can put a tiny little bit of salt, or, you could actually shut it with a little bit of rosemary or oregano or garlic or something sprinkled on it too, and that would make it really nice. So really quick, super healthy snacks. And so you can just eat it off the stick. You can eat the stick as well if you like, because it's not hard, it's not woody. And then, but actually, if you just if you wanted to propagate these as well, if you found a bunch somewhere and you could snap off a little bit, just take off all the lower leaves. See where the nodes are here, and there's a node at the bottom. And if you stick a new plant, I always stick at least 2 nodes in. It gives it a chance, because this is where the roots are going to come out of. So that's Brazilian spinach. This one was Okinawan spinach. So with these 2 ones, I'm getting so many greens in my garden. And the other one that's giving me huge amounts of greens at the moment is my pumpkin plant. Now, you probably heard me talking about eating pumpkin plants before, and I just love them because you get these great big leaves that you can steam up. As soon as you steam them, the prickles go. So a couple of minutes is all it needs. And then you can put in some rice or vegetables, wrap them up and dip them in some dipping sauce, and that's a fantastic wrap. Or you can just use it as a spinach leaf as well and chop it up and add it into everything, like I mentioned with these other ones. But the thing that I've been experimenting with lately, and I've been finding it hard to find any information, so I've been having to sort of dive in myself and test it out, is doing pumpkin leaf kimchi and ferments, and it's been brilliant. So I'll be writing up about both the Brazilian spinach chips and the pumpkin leaf kimchi soon. But another plant that you may have seen in my various blogs and films over time is the mustard spinach. And it's mustard spinach season again. As soon as it gets cool, this plant just takes off. And they self-seed in my garden. I have them everywhere. So this features in just about every meal as well. Now, this one is starting to go to seed, but you can see how this bit here, it hasn't gone woody yet. So this is a magnificent vegetable. It's like you can eat it like a spicy asparagus or a spicy bean. You just chop it up and cook it in a meal. So even though it's going to seed, it's still fantastic to eat. And so are the leaves. You can eat these. You can eat these little tips at the top, and then even when they get flowers, you can eat the flowers. So mustard spinach is just phenomenal at the moment. And another herb that I have that's growing really nicely is this is pineapple sage. Now, I don't know if you can see that really well here, but these leaves here, and you take one off and you crush it. It smells like, I wish I had a smell can because this smells amazing. It smells just like pineapple. It's pineapple sage. The other thing that I have this planted right next to our front door because our kids love to do this. You just pluck off a flower and it's like this sweet pineapple nectar that just suck it out at the end. Now, so you can either do that or you can collect all the little flowers and dry them, and that makes a beautiful sleepy time tea. So that's another one that's going off really at the moment. And another one here that I want to show you too, and it's starting to go to sleep, is the calendula. So what I'm doing as well is harvesting all the calendulas when they come, and I lay them out to dry on the veranda, and then I either take the petals and I use that to make calendula oil, which then I make into calendula creams, or just use straight as a calendula oil. And you can find out how to make the oil and how to do all the drying and the growing and the processing. I have a 3-part series about calendula on the blog. So all you need to do is to go in and hit the search button and go calendula, and then it will show you all the different posts that I have that have a relevance to calendula. So that's actually a really good thing to know about the blog and also the YouTube, that you can, once you're in there, you can search. So you want to find out about comfrey or no dig, or it might be Brazilian spinach. And so just type in that search and then you get all the different things, because once it's, like this, I think there's over 500 blog posts there now and 70 films. So that helps you to sort of find what you might be looking for. So anyway, thank you so much for coming and joining me today. I hope there's something in there that might have been useful, but I really do totally encourage you to get in touch and let me know what it is that you would like me to focus on a bit more. Is there something that you'd like me to do? But I'd also be interested to hear if you've got some ideas about how we could maybe let other people know about this Patreon program, because there's quite a few people that I'm really wanting to support at the moment too through the work. And I just want to end with telling you about this. So the woman that I've sent to sponsored to go to Uganda training, she's actually leads up one of the women's self-help group in a sort of a rural part of Kenya. And some of the women in there are starting to get in touch with me and tell me about the things that they're doing. And one of them is a woman called Jennifer, and she gets scrap materials and she turns them into sanitary pads for young women. And she distributes them freely around the community. And, while this sounds like something, for us, when you think about the impact that this has for the women over there, it's extraordinary. And the power that a project like that has. So what she's wanting to do, she wants to train up a couple of other people to be able to do this as well. So she just needs 3 more sewing machines and a few more press studs so she can put them all together, because she actually makes the pants as well as the pads, and she sticks them, and she gives the girls a kit with a bag, and it's beautifully done. So I'm going to put together a crowdfunding thing for this to tell you all about it. And so I hope that you would actually help me to spread this far and wide, and all she needs is $1,000 to do this. So I'm pretty sure we'd be able to raise that pretty easily. And so the thing is that most young women in Africa, in Kenya, in that part of the world, miss at least a week of school every month. And so it's no surprise that these young women are just not able to get ahead. And so, they can't do much in that time. The other thing that's happening, and it's really quite disturbing, is that in order to get the commercial sanitary pads, they cost a lot of money. And so some of the young women have been selling themselves to actually buy the sanitary pads. So they get caught in this loop, and it's just disastrous. So something so simple like this can make such a huge difference in young women's lives and really help them to get out of that poverty trap and out of that cycle of abuse. And so I think supporting things like this are really important. And while they're not directly permaculture, it's actually very much about supporting communities. It's people care, and that is at the heart of permaculture as well. So watch out for when I send through information about that campaign. And I really do encourage you to read through the information and to watch the videos. And if it's something that resonates resonates with you and let people know, because I'd really love to be able to support her to get a couple of extra machines so she can train a few extra people so they can give out these kits for free to more young women in rural parts of Kenya. So thank you again for watching, and thank you again so much for being my Patreon. I absolutely appreciate your support and the encouragement that does give me. Just knowing that you're there, and I do encourage you to get involved in the masterclasses and to get in touch if you have questions. So thank you, and I'll chat to you soon on the Patreon side.